Upon activation of the emergency alarm signal, all persons should immediately exit the building. Please use the exits to the left, right, or front of the council chamber or the east or west stairwell outside of the rear doors of the chamber. Do not use elevators or escalators. After exiting the building, proceed down 9th Street and enter the assembly area located in the former public safety building parking lot. Able persons should assist visually and hearing impaired visitors with exiting the building. Persons wishing to speak during the public comment period and/or public hearings are generally allowed 3 minutes to speak. Persons appearing before the committee are not allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, use language of a personal nature which assaults or demeans any person, including comments directed at public officials or staff members that are not related to their official duties, or address the question to staff members directly. All questions need to be directed to the committee chair. Failure to adhere to the guidelines may result in speakers forfeiting any remaining time, and further disciplinary action is necessary, which could include barring from attendance at future meetings of the committee for a period of 6 months. Members of the public who register in advance to speak virtually will be called at the appropriate time, either during the public comment period or during the public hearing for the legislation on which they sign up to address. Madam Chair, this concludes the announcements.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can we move forward to public comment?
Is there anyone here present today that would like to provide comment for items not on today's agenda? All right, for items not on today's agenda, please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Rachel Hefner, but I'm speaking on behalf of one of our chapter members who wasn't able to make it, Marquetta Fisher in the 3rd District, and I will read her statement. Hello, my name is Marquetta Fisher, and I'm a chapter member with Virginia Organizing and a resident of the 3rd District. I'm here to speak about the rental inspection program this afternoon. First, I want to again thank you all for the support and intentionality in creating a really strong rental inspection program. The Richmond chapter of Virginia Organizing is eager to support you all as council as we continue to see this program move forward. I wanted to touch on one of the points that was raised last month regarding the program. It was mentioned about thinking about including in the ordinance some kind of clause that would prohibit rent increases if the landlord does nothing to their property to invest in it. While we think this is a great idea, this is not something that should be included in this particular ordinance. For one, the Virginia Code doesn't allow for these type of stipulations on rent increases yet. So including this in the ordinance would only further delay this program from starting in a timely manner. We do want to bring to your attention to where we need to push from the council for rent stabilization. As a member of Virginia Organizing, we advocate on both the local and statewide level for needed change in the community. The past General Assembly session, we lobbied for anti-rent gouging bill carried by Delegate Clark that would do just what you're saying. The bill states that a landlord can only increase rent a certain percentage unless they can prove to a city-ran board that they made significant improvements to the property that warrant needing more rent. We need Richmond City's support on this bill. This year, it went farther than ever before because of the localities signing on in support of the legislation. We encourage Richmond City Council to consider adding this to your legislative priorities this upcoming session. With all that said, it is important that the city administration brings an ordinance to you all to the committee as soon as possible. We are asking that council follow up with the administration each month and bring an update to this committee. We also ask that the ordinance include a deadline for when the districts will be created, as we do not want to create any delays for implementing phase 2 of this program. We look forward to your dedication to this effort so that all tenants in Richmond can live in safe and healthy homes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here that would like to provide? Please approach this podium and state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Benny Gates III. I'm a 3rd generation Richmonder and a proud resident of the 9th District. I'm here today to follow up on some of the items mentioned in the last committee meeting about the forthcoming rental inspection program. I'm in the 9th District where we have the progressive and insightful council Councilwoman Jones and her liaison Tia West. I'm sorry, and I just want to say I love the land here in Virginia, Richmond. I have a healthy, affordable housing and safe, reliable transportation myself. But for the other residents who don't have it, it's it's a concern of mine. So I must highlight all the great work you've done, Madam Council Chair Jones, to help the rental inspection program and all the questions and dedication that the whole committee has ensuring the program will work for Richmond. We want to make sure this program is successful and is not delayed too much longer into the future. We heard the concerns brought up about potential displacement and labeling of neighborhoods. Code inspections are happening now and tenants are getting displaced now. This program will set us up for a future where that never happens because slumlords are being held accountable. It is the city's job to make sure these are safeguards in place for these tenants, since your ability to enforce code led the landlords to take advantage of the system in the first place. But additionally, we see the Family Crisis Fund as a great mechanism to support tenants if this does happen and already is supported and operated by the city. This is why we have been supporting New Virginia Majority as well for more money being put into the fund for this. Now, when it comes to labeling parts of the city, we have to be realistic. Parts of the city have been and will continue to be labeled as substandard housing until we strategically invest city dollars into holding slum lords accountable. The tenants who live in these deplorable conditions are asking you to stop using that as an excuse to not act. And finally, I want to ask you to not include any use of the word blight in the final ordinance. It's kind of confusing for some people. Looking at the VA code, there's an option to use the language either deteriorating or blight, and we ask that you use the word deteriorating instead of blight. This strategic or in the VA code allows for you to be deliberate in your word choice and prevent any unnecessary issues with the word blight and confusion. And thank you for your time.
Could you please restate your name for the record?
Benny Gates, Bennie, Gates, Gates the third. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benny. Do we have any more speakers, Madam Clerk?
Do we have anyone else present in the chamber that would like to provide a public comment? All right, we do have a virtual speaker on the line by the name of Dream Boyd. Ms. Boyd, if you are online, you should be able to unmute your mic and provide your comment.
Peace. Hello, my name is Dream Boyd, and I'm a member of Virginia Organizing and tenant of the 3rd District. I'm here briefly to emphasize what has already been said by my co-chapter members about the rental inspection program and suggestions that were brought up in the last committee meeting. One suggestion that was brought up last month was including tenant councils as a requirement of the ordinance. While we truly value tenant organizing, we are one of the groups doing just that work. This type of addition will not result in the type of tenant organizing that will be effective. When organizing is a requirement of an ordinance or funding source, we usually see organizing efforts that do not work because the tenants are not invested. Usually the groups are simply a formality and do little change making work. I see that every month I attend the public housing tenant organizations. We have one event a year and nothing else is done to truly strengthen our powers as tenants. We ask that you trust our tenant organizing efforts on the ground currently and do not delay the ordinance with legal battles to see if this addition is even possible under VA code. It is important that the city's administration bring an ordinance to you all as a committee as soon as possible. We have been waiting years for the basics of this program and deserve for its planning and program and deserving for its planning and implementation to be prioritized for our tenants safely. This is not a radical program, but it could have major impacts in demonstrating that slumlords are not welcome in our city. We are asking that the council follow up with the administration and that each month an update is brought to this committee on where the ordinance stands We also ask that the ordinance includes a deadline for when the districts will be created, as we do not want long delays on fully implementing phase 2 of the program. We look forward to your dedication to this effort so that all tenants in Richmond can live in safe and healthy homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd. Clerk, do we have any other speakers?
That concludes the virtual speakers for today's meeting.
Yeah, back to council. You have any questions? Mates? Madam Clerk, can we move on with the approval of the minutes?
The minutes to be approved are for the March 18th, 2025 Land Use, Housing, and Transportation Standing Committee meeting. If there are no amendments or corrections, then those meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Those minutes have been approved.
Thank you. Can we move on with boards and commissions?
Good afternoon, Chair Jones, Vice Chair Robertson, Councilor Breton, Pamela Nichols, Council Management Analyst. The vacancy report that you all will be reviewing today captures current and projected vacancies through August of this year. And so we're going to get started with the Board of Building Code Appeals. We have 3 different divisions, and we have one vacancy in each one of those. And we have 4 applications, one being from Richard Newman Jr., Samuel Stocks, Michael Poole, and Victor Torres. We also receive support for all 4 applicants from city staff. Do you want me to stop there or keep going?
Yes. So, what was the one? Mr. Poole does not have a Richmond address, nor does he work in Richmond.
Okay, so the code that established this, they removed that requirement out so that they could be able to expand the search for members. So this board does not require individuals to reside or have a principal place of employment in the city.
So we're gonna pick Victor for that one. We just wanted to clarify that, but we're gonna go with Victor Torres for the Board of Appeals.
Okay, and for the general contractor, we're gonna go with Samuel Stocks?
Yes, correct.
Okay, and Richard Newman Jr., okay. Now, for the City Planning Commission, we have one vacancy for a qualified voter of the city who holds no office or profit under the city government. We have a reappointment application from Ms. Rebecca Rowe and an initial application from Joseph Chidori. And you also will notice on your report that Elizabeth Greenfield, she is now the mayoral appointment to the Planning Commission.
So we're gonna go with the reappointment on that one. Thank you.
Okay. For the Community Transportation Advisory Committee, for an individual that reside or have a principal place of employment in the city, we have an application from Matthew Clemens Jr.
We good with that one.
And then for the Maggie L. Walker Community Land Trust Citizens Advisory Panel, I do want to make you all aware that we did receive information that right now this body is dormant, but with the new CAO, it is the desire that they will then start being active again. But at this time, I don't have any additional information as to when they'll start meeting. So would you all still want to make the appointments? Okay, wonderful.
Yes, but quick question for you. So is this the same as the Board of Building Appeals where you don't necessarily have, those criteria was not waived in terms of living in the city or working in the city for this one?
No, that is, they are required to either reside or have a principal place of employment. So what we have is Marilyn McAteer for reappointment. I do want to note that your report does have Kenrick Cameron Jr. as a 9th district employment. He's actually 6th district, employed in the 6th district.
Right.
And then for Darren Crenshaw, he is listed as a 7th district resident.
Yeah, so we're
And
gonna
there
go
are
with,
2 vacancies.
yeah, so we'll go with the reappointment and Darren Crenshaw.
Wonderful, thank you. And then lastly, turning over to the last page. For the Urban Design Committee for a citizen of the city at large, one vacancy. We've received a reappointment application from Charles Woodson and an initial application from Connor O'Donnell.
The committee will go with Connor O'Donnell.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the recommendation offered by the chair for
Second.
all the committees.
Thank you. The committee is voting on the motion to forward the board recommendations as stated to council with a recommendation to approve. Mr. Breton?
Aye.
Vice Chair Robertson?
Aye.
Chair Jones?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Madam Clerk, we'll go with the papers at this time.
Item 1, ordinance 2025-069, to authorize the CAO to execute a standard project administration agreement between the city and VDOT to provide funding for the design and construction of a Walmsley Boulevard over Grindle Creek culvert replacement project. That paper's before the committee.
Do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
No, we have no one that signed up prior to the 10 a.m. deadline to provide comment for items on today's agenda. Would you like me to call for the public hearing?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Is there anyone here present today that would like to speak in support of item 1? Is there anyone present that would like to speak in opposition of item 1? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion to approve with recommendation for approval.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 1, ordinance 2025-069, to council with a recommendation to approve. Mr. Breton?
Aye.
Vice Chair Robertson? Chair Jones?
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Madam Clerk, we'll move on to the next papers. All right.
Item 2, Resolution 2024-R041, to express support for the study and installation of photo speed monitor devices in high-risk intersection segments, including the 600 and 700 blocks of South Belvedere Street and certain other locations throughout the city and through the city's Department of Police Safety Camera Program, and to request that the CAO consider identifying additional locations for the installation of photo speed monitoring devices and increasing the number of photo speed monitoring devices deployed by the city. That paper is before the committee.
Madam Clerk, we'll yeah, can we have a staff administration here want to speak to this paper?
Good evening, committee. Major Armstead, Richmond City Police Department. How y'all doing today? And the police department stance on this, first of all, when you look at speed enforcement cameras, we have speed enforcement cameras in place, 26 cameras in 13 locations, and they were put in place around schools. The program is generated for schools and construction zones. So we currently have them in schools, up and running in schools zones. So I guess our stance on this is that we consider prioritizing where we put these at, what's high, what's low, based off of the studies. Because you look at the high risk, if you look at the high risk intersections, the high risk intersections is based off the cameras running 24/7. What we currently have does not run 24/7. It runs only when the school's open, 2 hours before school, 2 hours after school when the blinkers are on. So it's a little bit different than what high risk intersections have. And high risk intersections 24/7 running the speed cameras are running all the time. So it's different than what we currently have in place right now. which is costing a bunch of that's the manpower. Like we have 4 part-time officers, 1 full-time officer that does this all the time, every day, Monday through Friday. You know, we're looking at a cost over $400,000 in salary money for these individuals to monitor, to validate these citations that we receive from the vendor. So once we receive those, they got to validate them, send them back. Then they have to go to court, go to be processed, to be sent out. So it's a lot of process. It's a big process to go through that we have to go through. So what I'm saying is that if we can validate and prioritize where and when and how soon do we put these cameras out, because you got to look at, we got these cameras, speed enforcement cameras, the bus stop cameras, for the buses that comes on the buses, and sooner or later we'll have red light cameras to have to monitor also. So that's a big undertaking for the police department to have to monitor all those cameras with the resources that we currently have, and whether we have those resources then, don't know, maybe not. So those are things. So I'm just asking us to consider prioritizing where they go. I know here they want them in 600, 700 block of South Belvedere Street, but that might not be the optimal place to have them right now. Maybe a better location for these cameras to be, or one that's more priority location than this location here.
Thank you.
Any questions? I guess any questions to me about it on the police department end?
So it sounds like you're saying we are already paying about $400,000 to pay 2 people to monitor our existing cameras. Is that what I heard?
Four part-time officers and 1 full-time officer.
Okay, and you estimate that'd be about $400,000 of
Yeah.
staff pay.
Yeah.
Now, the people often assume that these cameras pay for themselves. So
Yes.
for the school program cameras, is that the case? And do we know for sure that these things are money makers versus an expense, or neutral? Where are we at?
Well, neutral, I don't want to answer that question. I don't know the answer to that question. I just know the speed enforcement cameras do not. We do not receive any. We're currently not receiving funds for the speed enforcement camera. I understand that there will be something presented to try to set up an account to start receiving funds, but right now we currently do not receive anything from speed. They say they pay for themselves. They do not pay our salaries.
So, it sounds like you were not answering the RPS speed camera question because you don't have that information. Is that what you're saying?
As far as
Or maybe I asked the wrong question.
Yeah.
So maybe okay. The speed cameras around school zones, right?
Yes.
You said that's the one that we're spending $400,000 to monitor and support.
Yes, there's salaries of the officers that are doing it. Yes.
And do the tickets that it generates generate more than $400,000 in the school program?
Yes.
Okay.
In the school zones. Yes, the school zones. I don't have the exact dollar amount with me, but yes, I'm quite sure they generate way more money than that. Yes.
Okay. Now, it sounds like we're talking about a different situation. Now we're talking about speed cameras in the high injury network, which have different rules, different everything else, right?
Yes.
So this is where there's more hours per day, and it sounds like there is also a different state law about what happens to the money that the tickets generate. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so for both of those reasons, there's more hours per day, so presumably generates more tickets. It takes more manpower to watch them, and then the final straw is that when we generate those tickets, we don't even get the money. Is that correct?
Yes. No way. Right now, it's no way. That's right. You're correct.
Mm-hmm. So okay, well, I was just making sure I understood that. Let's see here. So, what is the type of training or credentials required for a person to monitor these cameras? Like, do we need expensive people? Can we hire new people? Like, I know police officers are highly trained people that have, require a lot of training, a lot of, is that the type of person that we need to monitor these, or do we have the option to, look to other less expensive types of staffing to monitor these programs?
To validate the citations, it has to be a sworn officer, because you have to check people's driver's license. You got to run their tags, make sure the car comes, who the car's coming back to. You got to be able to get into our VSIN system. So it really takes a sworn person to actually validate these tickets. Yes.
Okay. And if we did start to get excited about these cameras and we started to say, hey, we want to start with these 4 intersections, maybe that means 8 cameras, or how many person hours do you start to estimate does it take for each camera to like start ramping up our staff or assigning our staff to support these? I know that it sounds like we need people, but how many would it be?
How many people are there? I would say, you give me 3 to 4 more people and maybe we can make it happen.
So you're saying it would take about
right
4
now
hours?
they do the speed enforcement cameras and they do the bus light cameras. So they actually do both of them at the same time. They do both of those tickets, but the speed enforcement cameras generate a lot more citations.
Mm-hmm. So you would say about four officers could monitor a speed camera program of something
additional
ones of like somewhere between 10 and 20 speed cameras around the city, and you're imagining that about 4 officers would be required to do that?
Yes. Yeah, I would have to give me a whole unit that's to monitor cameras. That's to monitor speed cameras and running red light cameras.
And that money goes to some state transportation safety fund, is that right? Does anybody know what fraction of that fund benefits the city? Should we just assume it's 0?
I don't have that answer.
Good afternoon. I'm MS Khera from Department of Public Works. I'll be happy to answer some of your questions regarding this speed camera program. Just to clarify, there are school zone and work zone safety cameras. That's on 13 schools, 26 total locations that we all implemented these 26 cameras. Any funds generated or revenue generated from these 26 cameras, 4 hours, 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon, is collected by Conduent Solution, State and Local Solution. That's a vendor's name who installed the camera and who is operating and maintaining. And RPD is working directly with the Conduent. That funds is when it's collected. Pretty soon you will see police department gonna ask for councils to set a special fund budget, and that council ordinance will be coming to you in the next month in May. So that special fund budget can allow the funds collected to spend first on the cameras operation by vendor and infrastructure, and then the leftover funds can be implemented Vision Zero safety action plan. So that's the way it will go. The second camera program is red light running camera. Those are also part of the same Conduent safe state and local solution. That's contractor, vendor. So they are identified about 22 locations. Initially, Public Works looked into that. Let's look into 5 locations in the north of the bridge, 5 locations on the south of the bridge. So we're going to start with 10 locations first, then we're going to expand to another 12, so total 22. So existing contract that we have with the Conduent, that vendor with RFP that we procured, is only going to cover these 2, because that's a limited contract for scope of work, and that's also limited dollar amount up to $5 million total value. That will cover about 50 locations. Like I mentioned, that red light running camera, about 22 and 26 of the school zone. The funds are the revenue generated from red light running cameras. It will be also come back to city, but that is by code. We need to amend that rather than going to general fund, that it should also go to a special fund for paying for the vendor and also for Vision Zero safety action plan. So, but the key thing is that both of these programs, they bring the revenue back to the city of Richmond. Now, the third one, when the state code was amended, they did include high risk intersection segment. I call it HRIS. That HRIS, when they amended to include those for the camera program, the state acted on that state code differently, that any revenue generated by locality, it will be going directly to state, Commonwealth Transportation Board, CTB, to allocate to highway safety improvement program. And that's a statewide program. It's not only City of Richmond. So that HSIP program, that's where the board will allocate funds to. We apply each year. And each year we receive some part of the funds from HSIP program. But those are implemented throughout the statewide. The key difference is that on other two camera programs, we could pay to the vendor from the revenue we generated for infrastructure, operation, and maintenance. But on this high risk HRISP, we have to upfront the money because vendor needs payment. So infrastructure, installation, operating, maintenance, all will be on the city. And then you go to the state asking for HSIFP money, and that may not go into the same place. That may go in somewhere else for signal improvement, for some intersection improvement, all different, like 10 different initiatives we have, but may not go back to the camera program. So council needs to know that if we go with high risk intersection segment HRIS, they need to upfront the money. They need to budget first, and then a separate procurement needs to go out to procure a vendor. It could be conduit, it could be someone else through open RFP program, and that will decide how much will be the cost for each location of high risk. So it is not straightforward, but it is a very kind of embedded between each other, and but this will be a not sustainable kind of program for City of Richmond until we fund it and budget it in advance.
Thank you, Kara.
All right. So can I also ask, is there a limit to the number in each of these categories of how many we are allowed to have in these three categories?
We identified 13 locations, then no state code limit for the school zone and work zone. And for the red light running camera, there's a limit that I believe maximum cameras we can have is one camera per 10,000 population for City of Richmond. So it's 22 red light running camera can be the maximum.
I see. So it sounds like we do have a plan to max out those red lights with 5 and 5 and then 12 again.
Yes.
And it sounds like the school zone has no limit. So right now we have this list of however many green ones there are on this list.
No, let me clarify, Mr. Councilman Breton. This list is not only school zone. If you see the heading, it's called high risk intersection segment.
Oh, right. The school zones are very few.
So this is over and above. This just covers the. If you see the resolution that's with the council today, it asked for administration to do the study and installation of cameras at high-risk intersection segments. So we did the study from Public Works. These are the findings of the study, that there are about 30 locations, and some are on the same location where the school zone cameras are already deployed.
Yep.
So what you see, like in green, these are the 6 locations where school zone cameras are already there for 4 hours a day, but it's already also eligible for 24/7. But we don't have a mechanism to track 24/7 because we don't have a contractor, we don't have money, how to pay them. That part is still unanswered.
Yep.
But this is a study as resolution asked for it.
Yeah. And I apologize, everyone. I mean, I'll pause. I will have more questions, but I can let other people go, and you can come back to me.
I don't have a question. I appreciate the report and appreciate the work that you've done to address study. What we don't have, and I guess what I would ask is so you know the issue that's at hand. The issue is speeding. And we're trying to do any and everything to prevent that. And so I guess the question that I would pose to you is, as we continue to try to address speeding with no resolve, or not to the resolve of satisfaction that folk are looking for, this priority list based on no funding that's available to perhaps move to actually implementing, is there a proposed recommendation that you are prepared to offer as it relates to what next steps we take, and how they fit into police support and addressing the challenge that we have as far as speeding? And if there isn't such a proposal prepared to present as a result of your study, when could we get such a proposal from you?
First of all, I have to say that is automated enforcement effective? Very much, yes. Whether it's in school zone, whether it's in a red light, even school buses. In 420, this one is a high-risk intersection. We don't disagree with that, and that's why we have created the list. Only thing is the mechanism how to implement HRIS and how to fund it first. Where the money will come from, it has to come from general fund. And the police department has to budget it before they can start procuring another contract for HRIS. Because it's different than school zone and red lights, because that money will be coming out. That's why the difference.
I understand what you've shared as it relates to the challenge. The question that I'm asking is based on the study that has been done.
Yes.
Is there a proposed recommendation based on the study that the city consider implementing, or that you would propose to council to consider for implementation, and the impact that it will have on controlling speed, which is the issue at hand? And if you don't have something like that, when could we get a proposed recommendation? Your recommendation may be to do a lot of stuff contingent upon funding. I appreciate that. All things are contingent upon funding. But if we had a programmatic proposal from you with a budget, that would give council what we need to make a decision, find the money, and support the program. And if you don't have that, when could we get something like that from you?
I need to discuss with the police department, Major, for one thing that.
So if we continue this paper in land use, is it possible that at the next land use, which is a month from now, you could come back with a tentative proposal for us to entertain?
I think it will be too early for the reason that if I have to say you simply that how to proceed forward, first thing will be that we need to procure openly that for this particular scope of work, and we need to find out that we can limit about 10 first and then add it on, just like red light camera. So have them open procurement. And
so I'm looking for, I recognize all the challenges. They're not easy to resolve. I appreciate that.
So proposal will be procure first and find out how much will be the cost.
Right.
And then start budgeting it. It will not be on this budget cycle, but the next budget cycle that starts in October will be a better place where we can start.
When could we get a proposal back from you?
To proposal
so that we
will
can
include
make a
what?
decision as to what the city will do.
I think from police point of view, I will say that we need police department needs to procure, and how long this is going to take to procurement of RFP is time consuming. Until then, we don't know the cost. We don't know the cost of what vendor going to cost us. But procurement is first, then budgeting it. That's a simply two-step process.
You're not helping me.
Good afternoon, Mike Sawyer, City Transportation Engineer. So there's a comprehensive approach to speed management. It can be found in our Vision Zero Action Plan adopted in 2018. Part of this process of why the safety camera program is so important in setting up the Vision Zero Special Fund is so that there are dedicated resources generated by those that are causing the harm, right? So that way we have the ability to change the built environment through speed tables and curb extensions and all of the different things that we're currently underway to change the built environment through the Safe and Healthy Streets Commission, as well as the Vision Zero Task Force. You may want to attend on May 22nd, the Speed Management Symposium. They're going to be held in Main Street Station to get the community involvement. And really, it takes us changing the built environment to shift our safety culture. And that's what
So
we've been focused on.
Okay, so,
yeah.
Madam Chair, I'm not going to belabor this. But what I'm asking you for is, we have a study.
Yes.
The study should come with a recommendation and with a budget to carry out the recommendation. And so I'm not asking you to define that here, right this moment. But I am asking you to come back with a study. You've done the study.
Okay.
The study should also include a recommendation of action that the city should take.
Okay.
And whatever that is, that's what I want you to present back to us. And you can, and I'm asking you to give me an estimated time that you can present a study, a recommendation to support your study.
We
And
can send you a recommendation before next land use committee. We can email to you.
All right, so 30 days would be sufficient to make a recommendation based on your study.
But that will not include the dollar
I'm
amount.
not asking you to.
Just
do
2
anything else.
steps.
I'm just asking for your recommendation.
Yes.
All right, 30 days.
We will discuss with the police
Madam-
department. We'll put next action items on that.
Madam Chair, with that, I would propose that we continue this paper in land use to the next scheduled meeting. Thank you.
The committee is
She seconded it. All right.
The committee is voting on the motion to continue item 2, resolution 2024 R041 to the May 20th Land Use, Housing, and Transportation Standing Committee meeting. Mr. Breton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Robertson, Chair Jones.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
Madam Clerk, let's move to the next question. The
Item
next paper, I'm sorry.
Item 3, Resolution 2025 R015, to direct the City Planning Commission to prepare, submit to public hearing, and consider an amendment to the master plan, updating the vision and primary next steps for the 6 Points neighborhood node, and to request that the CAO cause the Department of Planning and Development Review, Public Works, the Economic Development, and Housing Community Development to collectively work with the City Planning Commission to prepare such amendment to the master plan. That paper is before the committee.
Madam Clerk, do we have any, let's move with the public comment.
Is there anyone here present that would like to speak in support of item 3? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition of item 3? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Bring it back to the committee.
Motion to approve, and thanks to the staff for the support in making this, helping us to present this.
Second.
The committee is voting on the motion to forward item 3, resolution 2025 R015 to council with a recommendation to approve. Mr. Breton,
Aye.
Vice Chair Robertson, Chair Jones.
Aye.
That motion has been approved.
And Madam Clerk, at this time, I'm going to pass the meeting over to Vice Chair Robinson. I have to roll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Clerk, I think the only thing that's left on the agenda is the presentation. Is that correct? All right, then we
Yes,
will have
ma'am.
the presentation at this time. Thank you, Ms. Ebert.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Robertson, Chair Jones, even though you're leaving, and Council Member Britton. I'm going to give you a brief presentation on the Shaco project. As many of you know, the Shaco project is not just a heritage campus, but has a variety of different elements, and that's what this screen shows you. It includes the relocation of the Emily Winfrey Cottage that's currently next to the Lumpkins jail site. It includes the Shaco Institute, which is working right now on creating the interpretive center for the Shaco project, and Carol's Landing and the Slave Trail and improvements to both of those locations, creating a Lumpkins Pavilion at the Lumpkins jail site, creating a Southern Memorial that would be located adjacent to the Lumpkins Pavilion that's on the east side of East Broad Street. I'm sorry, the southern side of East Broad Street. It also includes Shaco Hill African Burial Ground up at 5th Street and a longer-term plan to create and build the National Slavery Museum. I want to give recognition to the team that's been working on this project for many, many years. In 2023, Mayor Stoney and then CAO Lincoln Saunders appointed Leo Mante, who's a senior project, as the senior project manager for this project. He is a senior deputy director in the Department of Planning and Development Review. And Jeannie Welliver, who is the city's architect in charge of the project, and she is in overseeing the city's special projects division, and Marty West. But in addition to that, there is the Shaco Institute that was created a couple of years ago, and Marlon Buckner is the CEO and president of that nonprofit organization. The National Slavery Museum Foundation and the founding members, which are Delegate McQuinn, Ben Campbell, and Sylvester Turner. And currently the city is contracted with Baskerville as the lead design team, and Bert Pinnock is the principal in charge of the design team, and they have sub-consultants with Water Street Studio and Siddle Communications. And then for a couple of the projects which have already been bid out, that is the Shaco Institute and the Ann Carroll Landing and Slave Trail, Team Henry has been selected as the construction consultant or construction team. And a lot of the illustrations and information contained within this presentation have been provided through a presentation that Baskerville and Burt Pinnock provided to a number of us a few weeks ago. So I want to just acknowledge that I was rushing to get the presentation to City Clerk, so I don't have all the proper notations under photographs and renderings, but most of them, if not all of them, come from Baskerville. So I'm just going to give you each one of these where we are with the Shaco Institute. Shaco Institute is a sub-element of the plan. In 2023, we received an $11 million grant from the Mellon Foundation to tell America's story of the struggle to expand human freedom. And the Shaco Institute created itself to be able to reach out and engage historians, to be able to put together the research and the information to do that. The Institute is headquartered here in Richmond, and as you can see from the information shared and from their website, they are dedicated to revealing the enduring impact of racial slavery on our shared American experience. The Shaco Institute has received a portion of the $11 million for two purposes. The first is to engage consultants, and the consultant that they engaged was Local Projects, and they're responsible for the research and design and building of the exhibits within the space. And then the city has engaged Baskerville to design the 12,000 square feet exhibit hall. And that work is just starting as we speak. And the contract for the 12,000 square feet is just under $1 million at $986,948. And then as I'm sorry, that's the contract with Baskerville, and the award to Team Henry is 2.5 million and change to do the build out of the space. And then to design and build out the exhibits is a little more than 1.25 million. And Local Projects, as I mentioned, is in charge of that. The work is beginning this spring. It's going to take a little more than 12 months to complete, and hopefully late next spring, early next summer, it should open. This is located in the northern section of the lower level of the train shed area. And the purpose of this is to be able to get a jump start to tell all of the Shockoe project stories, with the intention that at some point in the future, the exhibits and the research and and any of the artifacts that will be able to be presented in the Institute would have a long-term home in the National Slavery Museum. Emily Winfrey Cottage. If you have never read the story about Emily Winfrey, there's a book out there about her. Remarkable woman who settled in the Manchester Blackwell area neighborhood back in the late 1890s and early 1900s. And this cottage was rescued when it was about to be demolished, and they temporarily relocated it next to the Lumpkins jail site where it sits today. The city has been working with some of the descendants of the Winfrey family, along with Parks and Recreation and the State History and Cultural Museum, and we've located a parcel across from the Blackwell Elementary School and next to the playground across the street on Maury Street to relocate this cottage and to restore it, and then to actually have docents be able to tell people the story of Emily Winfrey. And that project cost estimate is about $1.5 million. That is included in the CIP money for the Shockoe project. And we're working to get that project moving along. We need to relocate the cottage before we start the Lumpkins Pavilion work, which we'd like to be able to start later this year. And then another project that we've been literally working on for several years is the Richmond Slave Trail improvements. The Richmond Slave Trail, as I'm sure all of you know, chronicles the history of the trade of enslaved Africans through 1775 from Africa to Virginia, and then thereafter from Virginia to other locations in the Deep South. The trail starts at Ann Carroll's Landing, which was formerly the Manchester Docks, and ends in Shockoe Bottom at numerous slave trade establishments. Again, the city has hired Baskerville to design what is going to be featured, and you can see a rendering on the left of Ann Carroll's Landing, and there's other related improvements to the slave trail to make it safer to walk. One of the things that has been holding us up is to get a rights of easement across the CSX railroad line, and so that's what's really been taking some time to get this to move forward. That being said, Team Henry has been hired as the contractor to do the work. The cost is a little more than $2 million. This is included in the CIP, so the funding is there for the Shaco project. And as you can see, the project is scheduled to start this year and be completed in the spring of 2026. So a number of things are about to start on this very multifaceted project. The project that most people think of the Shaco project, is the approximate 10-acre campus at the foot of East Broad Street, and that is adjacent to the Main Street station and the incoming train lines coming into the station. You can see here on this rendering, this is the most recent conceptual site plan that Baskerville has updated since the one that they presented in 2024 to the city and to the public. And moving from left to right, or south of the East Broad Street to north of East Broad Street, the first project or element of the campus will be Lumpkin Slave Jail Pavilion, and Baskerville is currently working on finalizing the design documents for that pavilion and the site area surrounding it, with the hope that we can bid that out later this year. And then the second element would be the South Memorial. The South Memorial is an area of reflection, and also to be able to connect to the literally hundreds of thousands of enslaved peoples that moved through this part of the city between 1830 and 1865, which was the very active period of slave trading, where slaves were literally bought and sold, and the majority of them shipped further south to be used in plantations for work. But this whole area was also a breeding ground to actually increase the number of enslaved people as well. And that story is going to be told in the new Shaco Institute. The way that is configured, I'll show you in a couple of other slides. It's to be able to hopefully get people to connect to their heritage here on the site. We believe we have most of the funding in place for the Lumpkins Jail Pavilion and potentially the South Memorial, with the current funding between the state and the city's contributions. There is a bridge, which you can see here, that's called out in sort of the browned area that is currently elevated above the ground, and that's primarily to deal with the floodway and floodplain issues in terms of site disturbance. It's projected that there's a bridge that crosses over the East Broad Street Road and then comes back down on the northern side. And on the northern side, there would be a cafe and retail center that you could access from a parking lot that's currently shown on the Hungerford HVAC property that you'd be able to access from Marshall Street and the North 16th Street road right-of-way. That would bring you into the northern side of the campus. There would be other gardens, a North Memorial that would honor the first African burial ground. There's a misnomer that the first African burial ground is actually all that grassy area that you see north of East Broad Street. In fact, from looking at all the Sanborn and early maps of the city, the majority of that burial ground, unfortunately, is under I-95 highway. But there would be a North Memorial on the North Campus, as well as an event lawn, and then sort of the crown jewel or the highlight of the Northern Campus would be the National Slavery Museum. And then quickly, I'll go through just each one of the primary components. So the Lumpkin Slave Pavilion, as I mentioned, is currently under design. We believe with the funds that we have available, which is just under $33 million, that we'll be able to fund this project. Right now, the budget for it is 13.4. I'm sorry, the current budget. I'm sorry, let me back up. So we have 13.4 million from the state. The city has a total of 32 million budgeted currently. There's another 10 million budgeted in fiscal 26 and 27, and that would bring the available funding for all of the elements that I've talked about to date, which is Ann Carroll's Landing, the Emily Winfrey Cottage, Lumpkin Slave Jail Pavilion, and the South Memorial. We're trying to do all of that for the $45 million. Here are some conceptual renderings from Baskerville of what that pavilion might look like and what the South Memorial might look like. The archaeological findings of Lumpkin Slave Complex, which is currently buried about 10 to 15 feet below our current grade, includes the Robert Lumpkin's main house, a hotel, a cook's quarters, and the actual jail. And again, it was known during the mid-1800s as the Devil's Half Acre because Robert Lumpkin was one of the most notoriously cruel slave traders here in Richmond. The story of his site does have sort of a interesting ending. He died right after the Civil War in 1866, left his property to his common wife, Mary, who was a light-skinned mulatto, enslaved African woman who he took in when she was 12 and bore him 5 children. She eventually sold the property to Culver Theological Seminary in the 1800s, about 1868. And that seminary later became the beginning of Virginia Union University. So very interesting. And there's a book out about Mary Lumpkin that I would encourage everybody to read. It's a very disturbing but an informative book that was written a couple years ago, I think by Kristen Green. So you might want to look it up. This, I think, is an interesting photograph that someone captured right after the Civil War. And the red box, the smaller red box, kind of shows you to the right where the Lumpkins jail site sits in relationship to the state capitol up on the hill. So they were very in close proximity to each other. The larger red box on the screen is a blow up of the smaller red blocks where you can actually see the side of the jail and the complex of where his house stood a little bit higher on the hill, where the hotel was located to the left, and the cook's quarters to the right. And then to the far left is sort of a sketch that somebody made of what that jail looked at like back in the day. And the point to notice is that Shockoe Creek literally ran along that, well, let's see, get my orientation, eastern end of that complex where you see the gable ends, and a lot of time that entire area was just wet and flooded. These are, again, some renderings that Baskerville has provided. The one to the left is coming in and being at the grade down below the earth, 10 to 15 below. The game plan is to re-excavate the archaeological remains that we have found. We found literally the foundation work of the jail, a little corner of the Cook's building, the hotel, and the main building, and to be able to have people come down and be able to view that. And then a number of illustrations, artifacts, and stories. And so the rendering on the right would be an ongoing story of what that space actually looked like back in the early 1830s to 1850s. And this is a site plan of what the Lumpkins jail site is currently going to conceive. So contained building, and this gets to be very tricky because of the floodway and the floodwaters and a very high water table. So it's going to be very expensive to build this. But we do think on the south side of East Broad Street, this is probably one of the most important actual remains that are true to the story of the slave trade industry here in the city. And so it's really important that we allow people to get down below grade to see this and to understand what was happening here. There were multiple dozens, if you will, slave trader locations, hotels. There was an entire industry down here of more than 60 buildings in Shockoe Bottom. But this one we know for a fact is Lumpkin's jail site. And the fact that it remains were just covered over as they were building different industries. An ironworks building was over this site at one point in time, remains. The total project costs right now are about $17.5 million to put in this pavilion. And then the southern campus, which is the other piece that we hope to get built with the money that we have, is about $34 million in cost in its current design. The memorial is meant to be a reflective space and again represents the hundreds of thousands of enslaved people that were brought here and sold. What you're seeing in the upper illustration is sort of a metal scape. It's designed as you see it in the site plan on the lower left corner is to allow any kind of flood waters to flow through and not to impede it. But the journey is to show an ability to sort of plug in, and I don't have enough zoom in. I didn't have the ability to zoom in to show, but if you can identify that perhaps a member of your ancestry came through here, there's an opportunity for you to slot in your family's name and be recognized in this memorial. The other project that we are working on that again is another element of the greater Shockoe project is 1305 North 5th Street. It's about 1.2 acre parcel. The parcel is a small sliver of what was originally a 15 acre burial ground that was created when the first burial ground for Negroes was closed in 1816. And that is the one that I referred to that's on the north campus side of East Broad Street that's actually buried under Highway I-95. The Shockoe Hill African Burial Ground was closed in 1879, and it is believed that over 22,000 people were buried there. We purchased that 1.2 acre parcel when it was put on the tax delinquent property sale in 2021 by a private owner. And we've been working ever since to get it listed. It's both listed on the state registry and the National Registry of Historic Places. And last November, we were able to get it declared as a cemetery. So now we will maintain it as a separate cemetery. And that designation also allows us to address the billboard that's currently, unfortunately, located on that site because billboards are not permitted to be on or near a cemetery, a designated cemetery. Baskerville as well has been engaged by the city Burt Pinnock is working with historians and descendants of the cemetery, most notably Lenora McQueen, to design a commemorative space here. Our estimated budget for that right now is 1.8 million, and you see a rendering of what Baskerville is currently thinking as a commemorative space for that location. And then last but not least is the National Slavery Museum. And you see on the left a conceptual design for that museum. It sits at the northernmost point in the campus. Delegate McQuinn, Ben Campbell, and Sylvester Turner have been working for well over 20 years to get a National Slavery Museum in place. They've created a foundation. The city is working with the foundation. They've asked that a portion of the land in the Shaco Heritage Campus be conveyed to the foundation so that they can use that and brochures to go out and do fundraising to raise the money for that. It is not within the city's budget to design or build the museum, and we believe that the current just cost to construct the museum will be well over $100 million, but they've taken on the responsibility to do that fundraising. And so we are working with them to make sure that as they are out fundraising, that the building and the environment around the building fits in with the rest of the campus. And that includes some necessary stormwater management and floodway management infrastructure that needs to go in to protect the southern campus as well. And so that's my brief presentation, and I'd be here to answer any questions, hopefully that I can answer if you have any.
Thank you, Ms. Ebert. Any questions, comments? Good. I have a lot of questions and a lot of comments, and my emotions probably are too raw right now to ask those questions.
I'd be more than willing to come back at any time or to meet you to answer any questions you may have.
I will give you a call. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, does that include our agenda for today?
Yes, ma'am. There is a staff report,
Mr. Perkins,
and that has been provided to you by council staff.
any follow-up comments, Mr. Perkins?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Robertson. My colleagues, Mr. Taylor has stepped out, but staff report was prepared in advance. This committee will meet again in May. We will make sure we have the follow-up related to the paper that was continued on the resolution on high-risk intersection segments. We'll follow that up with DPW to make sure they include the recommendation as was requested related to their study. And I'll review the schedule for the upcoming presentations as well to make sure that's shared with members. Thank you. And I would be remiss if I did not introduce our new colleague. This is Maria Garnett. She has joined our office yesterday. Thank you, Maria. Maria is here to join us on the policy team. She is also a member, a constituent. So excited to meet you. Thank you.
Would you mind stating your title for the record?
Thank you. My working title, my name is Maria Garnett. My working title is Council Policy Analyst. My formal title is Management Analyst Principal, Council Agency. Thank you.
Forward to getting to know you better. Any other agenda items, Madam Clerk?
No, ma'am.
With that, I want to thank you all for attending. Thank you, Ms. Ebert, for this presentation. Great work that has been done. And At this time, Madam Clerk, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Meeting adjourned.